Hello, my name is LaShawn Green, and I am a survivor of child molestation and domestic violence. The amazing thing about my experience when I was young, so in my house, no one in my house was saved. No one knew the Lord. And my next door neighbor, my best friend's mother, was a Christian. And my best friend, so she used to take me to church, so I was like about 10 or 11. I never understood why I had to, why I got saved so young.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like 11 or 12, and I remember giving my life to Christ. Now, my house wasn't a traditional home. It wasn't like I wasn't, nothing crazy was happening other than the issues with my dad. Or not my dad, more like my father. But the thing is that it was like God was equipping me at a young age to be able to sustain what I was going to have to endure and encounter. And I guess one thing is I recall a day. I recall the day, the last day that I had an encounter.
Mm-hmm.
The very last day it happened. And I got up to go to school in the morning. I went into my mom's room because she left to go to work early. My father was laying on the bed. I went to get some socks out of a drawer, and he said, "Let me tell you about the birds and the bees." I turned around and he was exposing himself to me, and stroking himself and whatever. And I turned around and I was like, I gotta go. And I hurried up out of, put my brother on the school bus, my sister went to school. And I ran out the house and went down the street to my best friend's house. And I had shared with her before what was going on. And that day I remember walking in the door. I remember what I had on. I remember leaning against the door, sliding down the door and said, "I can't do this anymore." And she was like, "We gotta tell somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta tell somebody." And I remember him calling me at her house saying, "I'm about to go somewhere. I gotta make a run. I'll be right back." And I was like, I'm not going to school. I don't want to go to school. He said, "You don't have to go to school. You can stay home." I said, "Okay." And so he was like, "I'm going to call you when I'm finished, and you can come back, and I'm gonna bring you something." So he came, he called me when he got back, brought me some McDonald's, gave me this like milkshake. I was like, and so he began to, "And don't tell your mother I let you stay home from school. Don't tell your mother." He started to dream me about what not to tell my mother. And so I was like, I gotta go. And I left. And a couple hours later, my mom came home, and I came back to the house or whatever. And I remember when I told my mother, and I remember her saying, "Lock you and your sister in your room." And then I remember the ruckus that happened afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember hearing her like flick off. I remember my uncles coming. I guess she called them. I remember, I remember her defending me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't remember her.
Mm-hmm.
So I do remember that turning point for my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember, even though that was a turning point, it became a sad commodity because my mom had to deal with that hurt and pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is one of the moments where it should have been more liberating, but it didn't feel as liberating. I remember getting married when I was right out of high school. It was college or get married. Got married, left home. Many people say, "Yeah, I saw his controlling nature prior to you, getting married." But
And that's where the domestic violence happened.
yes. And so I remember us having lots of episodes, that's up and down the roller coaster. But I also remember the feeling of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think about how, these two elements in my life and how I know that God destined for me to be who I am today. And how it's like a thread. And it's like, wow, how did I go through this? And then I think about how after I finally left or whatever, and I remember being at my best friend's mother's funeral, and we were standing on the porch of the church, and at this time my best friend still hadn't known what was going on. Ex-husband was standing on the porch of the church because he was his friend. He said to me, he said, I remember I had figured out how to kill you and your whole family. And he said, I was going to, because we had a patio window, he said, I was going to throw, I guess, makeshift whatever, through the window and kill you and your whole family. And I remember in that moment exhaling and saying, to God be the glory, I'm out of here. If one other woman can understand that they were not built to break, if they were not built to break, that before the foundation of the world was formed, he created you not to break. And that your story doesn't mean that you're broken. I am really excited about the business that I have now, Marketing Solutions. I'm a graphic designer. I do desktop publishing. I really enjoy doing that, but I'm also excited about the missions work that I do. I go to Africa. I've been to Africa 3 times in the last 2 years. And I have the opportunity to go and do missions in Africa and help other people learn about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Well, actually, it's a funny story. I came to a crab feast that I didn't realize I was coming to a crab feast for Raw Beauty, and it really wasn't supposed to be a long stop by. One of the other participants that was in the calendar last year said, will you ride with me over here? Because I need to stop by and just show my face. And I did. And so I came in, I sat down, and I met all these beautiful women. And I was like, wow, what's going on in here? And so when I came in, I sat down. They was like, girl, come on, get some food, so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I started eating. And I started to talk to them. And the founder, Keita, was like, you should be in the calendar. And I was like, no, I'm a graphic designer, but I'll help you, design something. But I tell you, by the end of that conversation and the end of the testimonies of the women that were sitting around with me and the camaraderie I felt, and the story that one of the ladies next to me started to tell me about her childhood molestation situation, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. I am LaShawn, and I'm Raw Beauty proud.